my name is Margarita Maris Suarez, and I will be talking about my contemporary art lesson plan called Urban Fantasy. It should take 5. Urban fantasy is also known as modern fantasy. It's a subgenre of fantasy in which the narrative has an urban setting. It combines combines the genre of fantasy and is modernizing it by bringing it to an urban setting of today. Now, an urban setting doesn't exactly have to mean a setting in a big city. It could be a setting in which the subject did not previously exist, such as modern day in like a farm or in a big city. It also can mean settings of the future or of a setting where the person who created the scene made that setting up themselves. Our two enduring questions that will be asked during this unit will be: how can fantasy be seen in this modern world? Such as, how do you picture fantasy in this world? Where would you put it? How would it be viewed in your eyes? And our second one is, how is your urban fantasy different from those in other situations? Because everyone's fantasy is different, be it different children in different socioeconomic situations, religion, just cultures and societies, how their urban fantasy differs from each other. The artist work that we will be viewing, because there's not really an artist that is very well known for urban fantasy, most of the art that's being viewed is considered fan art, and it's become more popular, but it's not something that's really well known. So most of the art that we have to look at are fan art, or people who made their own artwork based on a situation that they see. Students will start by being asked what is fantasy to them, and then they, on a white piece of paper, because we do not want to use lines, we want them to take their own notes in a way that they see helpful to themselves. They would define their own fantasy, and then have them describe their take on their modern culture. From there, they will brainstorm their own urban fantasy, blending both their modern culture with the fantasy that they see. From there, they will be able to pick their own medium that will help depict their fantasy. During the creative process, students will be informally assessed by myself by asking questions and just seeing how they interpret their modern fantasy. And there will be 2 formal assessments in the form of critiques. Once will be at a halfway point, where we will have a mid-week critique where we have students put their work up and have their peers give them. Okay, so after the midweek formal critique, students will be able to alter their fantasies based off the constructive criticism, or they can continue with what they were originally doing. Our second formal critique will be at the end, where students will put up their artwork and just say the title, and have students, their peers, see if they can understand what the student was originally trying to depict, or what their modern/urban fantasy means to them. So the outcomes of my unit would be teaching the children about linking of people and their views on such a similar subject, such as urban fantasy, and just bringing awareness that because your urban fantasy means something doesn't mean it's going to mean the same thing for the student sitting next to you. It's about looking at our world in a bigger view, but also seeing how just the slightest things can change what something means for another person. And centering around the two enduring questions, students learn how to not only assess themselves, but each other, and just the continuation of learning that one thing could be different for two different people. All right, that is my presentation on urban fantasy.